Welcome to our discussion of Parshat Pinchas. Pinchas, seemingly minor character in the Torah. A few brief verses at the beginning of our Parsha discussing his significance. And yet, I would like to argue that Pinchas and what he did was a pivotal moment in the entire biblical history. In the entire Chumash, this is one of the key moments when Pinchas stands up and spears the two sinners and v'heshiv et chamati me'al b'nei Yisrael, and stopped the anger of God. I want to show that this is a pivotal moment. I want to discuss why is it a central event in the history of Chumash. The psukim over here, the verses here, speak in very grandiose terms. Hineni noten lo et briti shalom. I am going to give Pinchas a covenant of peace. The word brit is no small matter. Rarely does an individual have a brit. Pinchas is seemingly part of the Kohen group, the Kohanim, the priests. Why the need for his own brit for himself? Sure, there may be technical answers. Maybe, as Rashi says, he was not technically a Kohen until now. As the Yosef Bechor Shor says, he will be the Mashuach Milchama. He will be the one to go out in battle, as we see later on. Sure, it's true that as Chizkuni says, that Kol Kohanim Dolim Ayu B'Mikdash, Afilu Ayu Mi Pinchas, those who are going to be high priests are going to come from Pinchas. And yet still, why the need for a separate covenant just for Pinchas? What is it about Pinchas? What is it about this story, this individual, that makes him so special? There'll be an everlasting covenant of kehuna for him. Why the eternal blessing for this small act of Pinchas? God says in the beginning of the Parsha that why have I chosen Pinchas? Because he took away my anger. I did not destroy the Jewish people with my anger, with my jealousy. In other words, it seems that God was thinking of destroying the Jewish people. This was a pivotal moment. Without Pinchas, it seems there would have been utter destruction. And then we have the numbers. The numbers of dead in this episode, found at the end of the last Parshat Balak. The numbers of dead victims of this crime, of this terrible crisis, were much greater than ever before. The Egel, the great golden calf, 3,000 dead. Korach and all his people, 14,700. But this episode, which Pinchas brought an end to, the immorality at Peor, 24,000 people died. Not only that, but Rashi, based on the Gemara in Sanhedrin, give different figures. The Yerushalmi, slightly different figure, that there are actually 157,200 according to Yerushalmi, 176,000 plus 24,000 who were killed according to Rashi. In other words, upwards of 150,000, close to 200,000, according to Midrash, were killed in this episode, which Pinchas brought an end to. Pinchas comes in at a juncture of the greatest crisis in all of the Chumash. Not Korach, not the spies, not the golden calf. This, the immorality of Peor, the worshipping of Peor, of that idol called Peor. The immorality they committed in conjunction with that worship. This is the greatest crisis in all of Chumash, and it's Pinchas who solves the problem. Shemi Shmuel asked a question. He says, many people gave their lives for the Jewish people. Many people had great Mesirut Nefesh, great dedication, and yet they were not given an eternal covenant. Pinchas stopped the plague. What about Moshe? Didn't Moshe stop death on those numerous occasions? The golden calf, the spies. What's so special about this? It says in Tehillim Kuvav, Tehillim, the Psalms, chapter 106. It goes over the entire history and how much we have to be thankful to God for the various things that happen from the Exodus throughout our history. And the psalmist considers it important to emphasize that of all the different stories, Korach and all the stories, Pinchas is mentioned. He's part of a very important story of the Chumash. Vayamod Pinchas vayipalel. The Tehillim, the Psalms say that Pinchas stood up and he judged the people by killing the perpetrators. Vateyatzar hamagifa, and then the plague stopped. Vatechashev lo litzdaka. It was considered to be to him a great act of righteousness and kindness. Lador vador adolam, for all generations. The story of Pinchas is not something to flip through casually the first few verses of our parsha. The story of Pinchas was important forever and ever. In order to appreciate and understand why it is that Pinchas and what he did was so significant, we need to understand the background. We need to know where we are in the book of Bamidbar. Even beyond Bamidbar, the Jews had sinned with the golden calf. And although we were atoned for, although we continued to march toward Israel, God said, "Uviyom pokti ufagati alehem chatatam." On that day when I choose to remember the crime of the egel, of the golden calf, I will get them for that crime. And the rabbis say that there is no punishment that does not have in it some remnant, some vestige of the sin of the golden calf. So the anger of God about the golden calf has not passed. Shlach, the story of the spies, really didn't end. God is still mad at the Jews as they continue to die for the 38 years in the desert. And in Korach, one of the last episodes of difficulty before this parsha, the Jews had reached such a low point that Moshe Rabbeinu says, you know what? Aaron, take an incense, take a censer, take the machta, take the fire pan with the incense, and holech mehira, go into the camp and go around with this incense. That will stop the plague. The rabbis say he got this idea from the Malach HaMaves, from the angels up on high. This is a supernatural, extra-legal way of stopping the plague. You know why he resorted to something supernatural? Because there was no human way to stop God's anger against the people who sided with Korach before and after they were swallowed up by the earth. Hein gavanu kulanu avanu. They just said, oh, we're all going to die. They continued to complain even after Korach's being swallowed up, and the only response to that was a supernatural one. Basically, God continues to be mad at the Jewish people.